you're probably wondering, how can music tell a story? Click on any musical instrument or character from the movie to find out. In Peter and the Wolf, Elmo plays the role of Peter. Peter is a daring young boy who helps others work together with him to save their village from danger. In the music, you can hear Peter in the sweet sounds of the violin. The violin is a small wooden instrument with 4 strings. You hold it under your chin and play it by drawing a bow across its strings. In Peter and the Wolf, the violin makes a lively, cheerful sound, and that's why the violin represents Peter so well. So, The wolf plays himself in this movie. He is a mighty, fierce animal, fierce enough to scare an entire village. In the music, the wolf is heard in the haunting call of the French horn. The French horn is an instrument made of brass, with one long tube all coiled up in a circle. You play it by blowing in the mouthpiece and pressing its buttons. The French horn in Peter and the Wolf makes a deep, bellowing call. Its tone is smooth, but scary enough to sound just like the howl of a wolf. So, you're probably wondering, how can music tell... The two-headed monster plays the role of the hunters. When they work together, with Peter's help, they're finally able to capture the wolf. The booming kettle drums represent these fearless hunters. The kettle drums are large percussion instruments. Each one makes a different pitch when you strike it with the mallets. In Peter and the Wolf, the kettle drums add a booming beat. When they are played fast, they can sound like marching feet, which is why they represent the hunters. So, you're probably wondering. Big Bird plays Peter's grandfather in the movie. He's a gentle person, but he can be stern when it comes to protecting Peter. In the music, grandfather is represented by the deep, old sound of the bassoon. The bassoon is a large wooden instrument which is played like the oboe, by blowing across 2 tiny reeds and pressing buttons at the same time. But because of its greater size, the bassoon makes a lower pitched sound. In Peter and the Wolf, its mellow and confident tone reminds us of Peter's grandfather. So, you're probably wondering, how can music tell a story? In this movie, Zoe plays the role of the bird. In the story, the bird is a good friend to Peter and helps him catch the wolf. In the music, the bird is represented by the flute. The flute is a skinny instrument you play by blowing into a mouthpiece just the way you would blow into a bottle to make a sound. You hold the flute off to one side and press buttons for different notes. The flute in Peter and the Wolf makes high-pitched, fluttering music that sounds like a bird song, which is why it's used to represent the bird. So, you're probably wondering, how can music tell a story? Telly plays the role of the duck. At first, he is nervous about joining Peter to chase after the scary wolf. In the music, the duck is heard through the sound of the oboe. The oboe is a long, thin instrument that you play by blowing with great force across two tiny reeds and pressing buttons at the same time. It provides a lazy, nervous sound, which makes it the perfect instrument to represent a waddling duck. So, you're probably wondering, how... Of course, a grouchy cat could only be played by Oscar the Grouch. The cat loves to play tricks on Peter and his friends, and in the music, the cat is heard in the playfulness of the clarinet. The clarinet is a long, thin instrument that looks something like an oboe, but it only has one reed in its mouthpiece and sounds quite different. The clarinet in Peter and the Wolf makes soft and playful tones. Its slinky sound makes it well suited to represent a prankster cat.